What if Naruto had Haki? Now, there's one of two ways that I could go about this. Number one, I give Naruto Haki and nobody else the ability, or I give the entire Naruto verse Haki. In the first option, we're basically going to be having a scenario in which Naruto not only has a difficult time mastering his chakra control, mastering the abilities of Kurama, but also is going to be having no teacher when it comes to learning Haki. So not only is he not going to have good chakra control or good control over the Nine Tails, but he's also not going to be having good chakra control. In the second scenario, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys, upon hearing the fact that more characters will also have the ability of Haki, you will most likely be turned off by that notion. Simply thinking that this is what if Naruto had Haki, not if the Naruto verse had Haki. So I digress. We're not going to be taking that route or the route where Naruto just gets Haki. Instead, we're going to be taking the route where Naruto has Haki and he's going to be an insane, prodigious character that has Haki. Like, for some reason, somebody in the One Piece verse had to have had Haki first and been amazing at using it without being taught it. So that's exactly what Naruto's going to be like. He's gonna be this, how do I say, this prodigy among prodigies when it comes to his Haki usage. So if you're excited for that, then make sure to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and also let me know what you guys think about the video down below. So with all that out of the way, let's get started.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Alright, so to start everything off, we have to establish what Naruto's childhood is going to be like. Now, I'm not even going to lie to you guys and tell you guys that some crazy things are going to be changing early on in Naruto, in the Naruto world, because realistically speaking, it most likely wouldn't change. The real change that would actually end up occurring in this timeline would actually be the fact that Naruto is going to pretty much discover his abilities of Haki very, very early on. See, one day, a kid from his classroom when he's in the Genin Academy would throw something at him, right? Now, Naruto isn't exactly a sensory type, so he didn't sense it with his chakra, but he sensed it with his Haki. In a strange manner, it was as if Naruto's observation Haki clicked at that exact moment, and Naruto was able to dodge right out of the way of that little spitball that the kid behind him had thrown. Naruto would look back, and then the kid would pretty much, look up, start whistling, and act as if it wasn't him who had done, the thing to Naruto. Naruto looks back and decides that he might as well just leave things as they are, and he would begin wondering to himself how it is that he knew that that was coming. For a following couple of years, Naruto would begin trying to discover what exactly that was, and he would only be able to replicate it on a number of occasions, deciding that it's a little bit difficult and tedious to master now, so he's simply going to be waiting until it occurs once again. One day he would be battling against Sasuke, doing a little bit of battle training, and when he is doing this, Sasuke would throw a kick at Naruto that Naruto would slightly be able to dodge out of the way of, due to the fact that his observation Haki kicked in at just the right moment. Naruto would then abruptly be kicked by Sasuke one more time, and it's at this point that Sasuke would realize that, yeah, something is up with Naruto. How was he able to dodge that kick? Like, I did it at an angle where he couldn't see. Naruto would also be thinking that very same question, and so Naruto would decide to do one thing. He decides to grab a bag of rice, right? He grabs a rope, he pretty much hangs it to the top of his house, and then he begins to essentially just stand in front of it. Much like how boxers do when they just, pull it forward and then they let it start swinging and they have to dodge out of the way. Naruto would do this on multiple occasions, actually getting a bunch of bruises on his head because he ends up actually using his observation Haki with his eyes closed to start sensing out when and where the bag would end up pretty much starting to hit him. And that's exactly how Naruto would gain a little bit of mastery over his observation. Not exactly future sight quite yet, but he would end up activating his observation Haki to its base level, where Naruto was now able to dodge attacks more easily and know if they are coming towards him. Something like a premonition almost, where it's going to be kind of overpowered early on, seeing as the villains won't be that powerful, but later on, not exactly too useful. That said, what ends up happening following these events is Naruto just continues to try to train with his chakra, which is still very difficult for him, and he still is completely unaware of the fact that he has Kurama within him. The day would come eventually when Mizuki ends up tricking Naruto into stealing the scroll, and what I believe ends up actually happening in this time around is when Naruto goes to meet Mizuki at the spot and Mizuki arrives, Naruto, using his observation haki, is able to realize exactly where Mizuki is. So once, he sees Mizuki, he ends up looking towards the direction of Iruka and knowing that, something's going on. So when Mizuki's about to throw a kunai at them, Naruto would lunge at the direction of Iruka, being like, "Get out of the way!" And the kunai would end up piercing Naruto's leg. He would be in pain, but he would then realize that it's nothing and it's not a big deal, grabbing the scroll and going off to run away with it. When suddenly, Iruka would end up coming behind him and asking him to give him the scroll that he could trust him. Naruto, using observation haki, would know that that is most definitely not Iruka sensei, and so would be able to dodge out of the way before the fake Iruka could actually grab the scroll. Naruto looks towards the direction of the fake Iruka and then goes on to say that that was a horrible, pitiful transformation jutsu. And Mizuki sensei would look towards the direction of Naruto before gritting his teeth and stating, "Damn you, Naruto, if only you wouldn't have gotten away, I would have taken that scroll by now." Suddenly, Iruka sensei would appear and Naruto would make his grand escape, eventually leading to Naruto essentially looking towards the direction of Mizuki and Iruka as they both speak on Naruto and how far he's come. Iruka would state that Naruto is a great shinobi and that he is a splendid person. And Naruto, through tears and sheer determination alone, would step out of the bushes as Mizuki would yell out to him, "Damn you, Naruto, I'll kill you." Naruto would then perform the hand seals for the multi-shadow clone jutsu and yell, "Multi-shadow clone jutsu!" as a bunch of shadow clones would appear out of nowhere, and Mizuki would say, "Wait, Naruto, no!" as Naruto would rush in with will unlike any other, as he would then say, "Don't you ever dare lay a hand on my sensei, or I'll kill you." A flash of Conqueror's haki would be let loose by Naruto, and Mizuki would end up being knocked out just by that alone, then being pummeled by all of the Naruto clones, before Iruka would then suddenly be helped up by Naruto, and they would then go off to enjoy a delicious bowl of ramen. What goes on happening following this little situation is something a little bit more simple. See, what ends up happening following this little altercation between Naruto and Iruka and Mizuki sensei is basically the graduation exam. And all of them end up, well, not the graduation exam, but like kind of the graduation itself, where all of them are told what teams they're going to be on, and they're doing their things, right? Naruto would still be assigned to Team 7, so Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi still stays constant. And what ends up basically happening is that Naruto this time around doesn't actually end up beating Sasuke up and taking his place to try to kiss Sakura. By the way, can we just talk about how creepy that was? Brody really changed who he looked like just to get a kiss from Sakura. Mans was down bad. This was not okay, bro. Naruto was literally down bad before the word was even created. So yeah, Naruto, you built different, bro. But that aside, what ends up basically happening following this little situation is the bell test, right? The bell test would go down, and I really don't see Naruto using his haki that much in the bell test because he's not really in any immediate danger. So I don't see many of these situations changing a lot. The only thing that would change is the fact that Kakashi wouldn't be able to use the 1,000 years of death jutsu on Naruto, sticking his fingers up his ass. That doesn't end up happening. Naruto barely is able to get out of the way, and Kakashi widens his eye, asking how he knew he was there. Naruto then runs away and then goes off to hide, and yeah, they still end up passing by the means of Sasuke sharing his food with Naruto, and in turn Sakura sharing her own. Eventually, 2 weeks of worthless missions would go by, and Naruto would continue training with his observation haki, getting more and more used and adapt to the haki that he now has possession of. Eventually, the day would come when they would be assigned the Tazuna mission, and this is where things would slightly start to change for the young Naruto. Naruto would finally start getting more and more grips over his observation haki. Not only that, but it's almost as if there's some other forms of the ability that he has. He hasn't exactly found a name for it quite yet, since he believes it to simply be chakra based abilities, but Naruto, you could not be any further from the truth. Naruto eventually would end up going on the mission, and when the demon brothers rush in at them, Naruto this time around isn't called a scaredy cat by Sasuke because his reaction time was of insane proportions. He was able to react even faster than Sasuke was, and was able to actually defeat one of the demon brothers, impressing Kakashi along the way, while Sasuke ends up agreeing that Naruto may not be as useless as he thought. That's one good thing that comes out of this. But another thing that actually ends up coming out of this little altercation would essentially just be the fact that this time around, Naruto, when he sees the bunny just jumping around, would be able to realize that something's coming their way. Using his observation haki, he would be able to spot Zabuza's sword before even Kakashi could, and he would say, "Everybody duck!" As they would all do so, and Zabuza would finally make his grand appearance, beginning to pretty much berate Kakashi as they end up having their iconic battle in the original manga events. What ends up happening following this situation where Kakashi gets captured is Naruto, using his observation haki, would be able to deduce that they are going to essentially be needing to separate Kakashi from the thing. Pretty simple, but I don't know why I even included that. That's so dumb. Like, it's so simple. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna keep going with the story before you guys get too tired of listening to me ramble on. So he ends up making the same plan that he would have made with Sasuke in the original, and Kakashi would then eventually end up bodying Zabuza. That pretty much stays just the same as it would in canon, until eventually the week training they would have with Kakashi, where he teaches them water walking. Or sorry, not water walking, but tree walking. They would all learn this very, reasonably quick, just like they would have in the original, and they would all become very skilled and adept when it comes to tree walking, getting ready for the next battle that is going to be happening very, very closely. Naruto would still end up oversleeping just because Naruto having Haki doesn't change his character. He's still a goofball, and he's still very irresponsible when it comes to his sleep schedule. He trained extremely hard the day before, so Naruto ended up oversleeping, leading to him saving Inari as well as Tsunami from the bandits. And after he does this, he would rush into the situation, only to see Sasuke on the ground as Haku would throw Senbon needles at his direction. Naruto, seeing this, would feel a pulsation feeling in his heart as everything seems to stop for just a second, and Naruto says, You killed him. You killed him! He screams out in a rage as his Conqueror's Haki begins to essentially flare out in all directions, and Haku would pretty much be stopped mid-tracks of jumping from portal to portal as Haku pretty much falls onto one knee and would begin to wonder what this presence is. Naruto, after unleashing more Haki, would knock Haku and Zabuza out completely, along with Kakashi, Sakura, and Tazuna, and he would be the single person to stand there, as he would simply watch as everybody just falls before him. Naruto wondering what exactly he just did, and after trying to shake Sasuke into waking up for a little longer, Sasuke finally ends up coughing, leading to Naruto realizing, good, he's alive. Eventually, Gato and his men end up arriving, and Naruto would look towards the direction of Gato as he goes on to say that Zabuza failed, that he wasn't going to pay him anyway, as Zabuza barely started waking up along with Kakashi. As he said, "Is that so, you old fool?" He would then rush in towards the direction of Gato without actually being drained this time around, because he didn't get, that deep into the battle with Kakashi, so he was able to actually rush in and kill all of Gato's men, as well as Gato himself, and then also tell Haku to leave Team 7 alone. So both of them end up surviving in this version of events just due to the fact that Naruto didn't kill anybody. He used Conqueror's Haki. It makes sense to me in, the grand scheme of things, since Haku and Zabuza don't necessarily have to die. I mean, once the battle came to its final stages, what were they really going to do? You know what I mean? So Haku and Zabuza are able to actually escape, and they end up pretty much getting a little bit of respect for Team 7. And following this little situation, Kakashi would go on to report to Hiruzen the strange power he felt emanating from Naruto, asking if this has something to do with the Nine Tails. Hiruzen goes on to inform Kakashi that it does not, and Naruto is very curious as to what happened and why it happened. And so Naruto just begins continuing training with his observation haki, as the Chunin exams would be right around the corner. And by right around the corner, I mean like 2 weeks from now. They don't end up bumping into the Gaara siblings just because I don't really see Naruto being, being too focused on chasing Konohamaru. He'd most likely be like, "Konohamaru, I gotta go train." And so instead, he goes off to train with his haki. During one of these days, he ends up realizing that sometimes his fists do a lot more damage than he would think they would normally do. So he ends up pretty much wondering what exactly that is, and realizing finally that this power that he's been displaying doesn't have anything inherently to do with chakra. He ends up kind of finding out, oh, okay, so this is something different that I have to train in a different manner. How do I train this? I trained the last thing by just, dodging and getting hit a bunch of times with a bag of rice, and it really hurt. He goes on to grab his head and remembering the pain that he would feel from the rice bag every time he would fail to dodge it. And he then realizes that, well, if he can't think of anything else, he might as well just start punching trees. So that's exactly what Naruto would do. He pretty much starts channeling his willpower, punching the tree over and over and over and over. Sometimes the armament Haki would coat his fist, sometimes not, but Naruto doesn't have an inherent way to check because armament Haki doesn't exactly appear visually. It's not a real thing. That's only a thing that Oda does in the manga and anime just so that we can understand that Haki is being used. So Naruto's punching the trees, right? His fist would get hardened and his will would get hardened as well, and he would begin learning the base understanding of armament Haki through this method that Naruto was creating for himself, going on to eventually learn a tad bit of armament Haki, being able to now coat his fist with it just long enough for him to land a punch. So now Naruto is, in terms of armament Haki level, pretty garbage at it, but it's getting there. And eventually the day of the Chunin exams would arrive. Sasuke gets mollywopped just like in the original, and Naruto gets pretty much glossed over by Lee until Guy Sensei stops the battle that was about to go down between Naruto and Lee, and eventually they end up going over to take the written portion of the Chunin exams. They end up passing it, and by they, I mean every single member of the Team 7 squad, and when it comes to the rest of the events that would happen in the Chunin exams, like the Force of Death portion, that pretty much ends up kind of remaining constant up to the point when Orochimaru would make his presence known. Once Naruto was able to jump in and Sasuke is able to see, Naruto come in and try to help him, Naruto through desperation would end up activating the powers of the Nine Tails for the first time, and would actually, with his abilities of the Nine Tails now activated and his observation Haki, would be able to do relatively decently well against Orochimaru. Regardless of him using armament Haki to his perfect ability or observation Haki even better, Naruto's not beating Orochimaru just due to the fact that he's stronger and faster than him. I mean, Canon Orochimaru was able to body Four Tails Naruto without his arms, I'm pretty sure. So this Naruto, yeah, it's a walk in the park for Orochimaru. He's not going to be having problems. He still ends up biting Sasuke's neck and eventually running off to face off against Anko, and eventually what ends up happening is Team 7 would make their way towards the tower, where after, Sasuke ended up having his crazy meltdown with his curse mark ability and becoming kind of deluded by the fact that, this curse mark ability is really strong, so therefore he has to keep using it to gain power. He starts becoming a little eviler, and eventually the 1 month break would happen after all of the fights would go down just like they would have in canon, except for Naruto's, because Naruto this time around was able to actually use observation Haki and, dodge out of the way of Kiba's attack long enough until eventually he ended up calming his nerves, and through sheer willpower alone would lift his arm up and in Bellamy fashion would slam his fist down as he hits Kiba right on the noggin and sends him crashing onto the ground as Kiba gets KO'd. And we have Naruto looking up at the stands as Kakashi would nod, Sasuke would be like, huh, and Sakura would be like, wow, I can't believe Naruto got that strong, right? Hinata still gives him the ointment and the 1 month time skip happens. He ends up running into Jiraiya, or the pervy sage, and ends up pretty much talking to Jiraiya about his strange abilities that he actually has access to. No, Jiraiya is not going to be a Rayleigh figure, even though if the world of Naruto had Haki, then he would have been. But since I didn't give everybody else Haki, Jiraiya is just going to be trying to do his best to have a little bit of understanding as to what Haki is, trying to ask Naruto strange questions about how the ability works. So instead of Naruto focusing on Haki for this brief period in time, Naruto would continue doing his training when it comes to chakra control, so learning water walking, and also would end up learning one more ability, which is essentially to control one tails of the Nine Tails' abilities, just because Jiraiya was able to teach him how to kind of stay calm. No, not one tail, but like the aura, right? He's able to control the aura without losing himself to the rage of the Nine Tails. And Naruto is beginning to become more and more powerful as the days go on, as every day in the nighttime he would begin punching trees over and over and over, trying to coat his fists in armament Haki. His fists are getting harder and harder by the day, and it's almost as if he's doing iron fist training, where Naruto's fists are naturally just getting harder and harder and harder. And Naruto is going to become armament fist Naruto or something like that. He's gonna get like armament Haki levels of Garp someday, but not soon. But yeah, in terms of that, that's really all Naruto's able to do. And when it comes to anything else, I believe that Naruto just kind of being himself is going to pretty much just be a normality for the rest of the series. What ends up happening after these events is basically Naruto's battle against Neji would still end up going down, and just like in the original, I see Neji getting stomped by Naruto after Naruto's chakra points get shut down because he wasn't able to dodge out of the way fast enough, because Neji is just, he is fast. Like it's very much underwhelming how much people think Neji's speed really is. I mean, Neji is one of the strongest Genin. He needed 4 Jonin to stop him, so I think Neji would definitely be able to, you know, pose a pretty relative threat to Naruto. Not only that, but because he's a close range fighter, Naruto doesn't have enough time to use his observation haki and dodge out of the way that he would like to. So Neji's definitely able to land a couple of hits and shut down some of Naruto's chakra points. Not all of them, because he was able to dodge a couple of hits, maybe like 9, but Naruto's chakra points are still shit on, and he still ends up having to resort to the power of the Nine Tails. Instead of pulling the sneaky move where he, you know, rushed underneath the ground and uppercutted Neji, what ends up happening instead is Naruto, you know, using the power of the tail, getting faster, coats his armament haki, and then rushes in at Neji, hitting him one good time to the face, sending Neji flying back, leading to a knockout via Naruto to Neji. What ends up happening following this is the attack on Konoha village. Hiruzen still ends up dying, Naruto still goes after Sasuke, and Naruto would still inevitably end up defeating Gaara. The way that he would do so would pretty much remain just the same as it would in canon, just because I don't see his armament haki really helping him out in this scenario, or his Conqueror's haki. His observation haki would help him dodge more attacks, sure, but when it comes to his Conqueror's haki, Gaara's already unconscious when it comes to the Gaara state that the Shukaku state he goes into, so Conqueror's haki wouldn't have affected him even if he tried using it. The battle goes down just like it would have in canon, and Gaara would change his ways following this altercation with Naruto. What ends up happening following these small events is basically the Tsunade retrieval mission goes down, where Naruto goes on to learn the Rasengan, ultimately tricking Tsunade into joining back with the village, defeating Orochimaru, and escaping the grasp of the Akatsuki members Itachi and Kisame. After being able to do all of this, they return to the village only to find out that Sasuke essentially ended up running away. Naruto was assigned on a mission to essentially go retrieve his comrade in arms, and the entire scenario pretty much goes just like it would have in canon, up until when Naruto actually ends up throwing the hands with Sasuke. This is where Naruto's kind of like grand old like art haki like upgrade thing ends up going down, where Naruto starts upgrading his armament haki more and his observation haki more, so he can use his future sight just like Sasuke would be using his Sharingan. The fight goes down just like it would in canon, except once it gets towards the final stages, Naruto able to use his observation haki would land fiercer blows on Sasuke, weakening his body slower, and also not be hit with as many of the attacks that Sasuke would have landed in the original. One full tail of the Nine Tails along with armament haki, observation haki, and even a bit of Conqueror's haki would be more than enough to actually slap Sasuke around, and when Naruto would use his Vermilion Rasengan, it would be more than enough to actually almost end up pretty much annihilating Sasuke's arm. Sasuke's arm gets pretty much torn to shreds, and Tsunade has to perform a really intensive surgery on Sasuke's arm to pretty much make it work once again, but Sasuke would be taken back to the village, where Naruto would end up pretty much asking Sasuke why he left. He ends up telling him that he got jealous of Naruto's power and saying that he needs to kill his brother. Naruto would sympathize with Naruto and tell him, Naruto would sympathize with Sasuke, and sympathize with him, telling him that he's not going to be stopping him if he wants to go train with Orochimaru. Just don't lose yourself to this desire to kill Itachi. Sasuke, your brother Itachi became a powerful shinobi in the Leaf Village. Orochimaru became a powerful shinobi in the Leaf Village. Kakashi became a powerful shinobi in the Leaf Village. What makes you think you cannot? If you cannot, then you are not worthy of strength, if you can't even achieve it on your own. And Sasuke, after hearing this, would have a bit of an epiphany, realizing that maybe he doesn't need to leave the village, but a part of him would still wish to go with Orochimaru. Naruto goes off to train with Jiraiya over the time skip, and contrary to popular belief, Naruto would, instead of just coming back with a big ball Rasengan and slight knowledge when it comes to the Nine Tails' abilities, Naruto would have access to that of 4 tails of Kurama's tails. Not only that, but have mastered observation Haki, armament Haki, and would have a very clear-cut understanding of Conqueror's Haki. Pretty much the same understanding that Luffy would have had after the 2-year time skip of training with Rayleigh. So when it comes to Naruto's strength, Naruto is pretty much going to be very, very, very overpowered, and when it comes to his opponents that he's going to be having to face, such as Deidara, Sasori, or the first ones at least, Naruto's going to be having an easier time facing up against them. When it comes to the Gaara retrieval mission, I pretty much just am going to be saying that it's going to go a lot easier. See, when they ended up busting into the cave in the original events, Deidara flew out with his bird, right? But Naruto, using observation Haki and his future sight, would be able to jump on the bird with Deidara and pretty much clash with him hand to hand. Deidara is more of a mid-range to long-distance fighter, so I'm saying that Naruto, using his armament Haki, would be able to land some solid blows on Deidara and actually hit him in ways that Deidara was not expecting. Deidara would get flung around and get pretty much knocked off of his gigantic clay bird, as Naruto would perform a devastating Rasengan to destroy the bird midair and make it explode, as Naruto, through the explosion, would jump off into the air and then pretty much rush in at the direction of Deidara, flying at him at insane speeds as he charges up his fist with armament Haki and chakra in tow, and then lands a gigantic blow on Deidara's head that pretty much caves his skull in and just kills Deidara upon first contact, just destroying Deidara entirely and having him crash into the earth, as Naruto would cause a gigantic explosion. Sasuke, since he actually ends up remaining in the village, would pose a huge threat to Sasori as well as Kakashi, since both of them are the ones that actually end up handling him. They end up eventually taking down Sasori just like they would have in the original, and the Gaara mission would be a success after Lady Chiho would sacrifice her life for the Kazekage Gaara. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of how that little arc ends up being wrapped up. Once they return to the village, they end up essentially finding out about the death of Asuma Sensei, I believe it was, if I'm thinking of the timeline correctly, and Jiraiya Sensei would have pretty much left to go face off against Pain. Jiraiya still ends up dying, and this would lead Naruto to actually end up having to learn the Rasen Shuriken and Sage Mode, and Sasuke would be pretty, ready to go off and fight his brother Itachi, because, he sent him out a letter and he goes off on his own. Naruto would remain in the village and protect it from Pain, and seeing as Naruto was able to already beat Pain in the original version, I don't think that it would be harder for Naruto this time. In the contrary, it would be a lot easier, because now Naruto has observation Haki, and in tandem with Sage Mode, that is already an overpowered sensory ability, Naruto was able to pretty much see so many seconds into the future of what Pain was gonna do with his little his puppets, that Naruto was able to dodge almost all of the attacks that Pain had in store for him, shocking Pain, leading him to send all of his Pain doppelgangers towards the direction of Naruto, trying to attack him. But Naruto, with giant Rasengans and simple punches, would be able to destroy these paths, until eventually he makes it towards the Diva path, which would use Shinra Tensei, or Ibaku Tensei, where it basically lifts up in an orb and Naruto gets brought up to the sky. That scene would happen. Naruto would see his father. He wouldn't let the Nine Tails overpower him, and he ends up defeating the Diva Path fair and square, just like he should have before, by flaring out his Conqueror's Haki, which would do nothing, because Pain isn't exactly a sentient being. He can't exactly get knocked out by something like that. So instead, Naruto, using a one final clash of armament Haki in his fist, would just destroy the Pain of Path, absolutely wrecking it, grabbing one of the receivers and then going off to find Nagato, who then goes on to revive everybody that he had just killed. And then the events of Naruto would begin to kind of align a little bit less at this point, because Sasuke this time around doesn't go off and hunt Killer Bee. Instead, it has to be Obito who goes off to take Killer Bee, so he actually ends up taking the real Killer Bee, leading to Naruto not actually mastering Kurama quote unquote, because you know, if you guys remember, Naruto doesn't exactly really master Kurama, more or less just takes his chakra. But it doesn't really matter, seeing as I think that when Kurama senses the power of Madara, he would kind of be more inclined to actually work with Naruto. So when it comes to the fourth Great Shinobi War, Naruto would actually still gain access to KCM2, and from here the battle would pretty much not really change much. It would pretty much just become simplified, and Naruto would still end up dying, unlocking the Sage of Six Paths abilities that he would in the original, leading to a one-sided stomp against Madara. Not Kaguya, because Kaguya should have never been a thing. Okay, Akatsuki are cool, but we had no reason to throw gods into the world of Naruto. This is a shinobi world, not a world of gods. It doesn't work. So Madara is the final villain, and we can close this book off on a high note, with Naruto being known as the hero of Konoha, being known as the Fist Naruto. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the conclusion to What If Naruto Had Haki. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to go down below, slap that like button, and let me know what your favorite part of the video was, seeing as it helps out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And with all that out of the way, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.